Welcome back to the channel everyone, Nova Zane on the mic. Today, I decided to take a look at Adult Gohan's neutral. I want this video to clear out some misconception on his bad neutral and how to play an optimal adult Gohan. First, you need to get the hang of fundamental movement and neutral. Adult Gohan doesn't have any easy to use instant neutral skipping tools like lariats, jailed moves, specials that cover the screen, etc. And people think he doesn't have a strong presence in Zone 3, full screen away, which makes him weak compared to other characters that shine in Zone 3. However, having presence in Zone 3 isn't that valuable since you can engage in more meaningful ways rather than a vanish combo. If your universal movement and neutral is bad, your Gohan will be absolutely terrible since he places an emphasis on this awareness and positioning. Thankfully, I have some amazing movement breakdowns on the channel that will help you improve your universal skills. I highly recommend my recent 5 movement patterns video where I go over essential skills such as dash blocking, moon jumps, and more. For even higher high-level concepts on movement and other aspects of the game, please check out Whi's Training Grounds on Twitch and YouTube since they have some great stuff over there. Once you're competent and confident in your neutral, you can now level up your adult Gohan. Let's take a look at his neutral in specific now. His M's are very great pokes in neutral, his 5M has great horizontal reach to poke when you're nearby, and 2M has even better reach that slides as a low. It travels across the zone, allowing you to poke from zone 2, and this is amazing to catch backdashes, landings, and more. And pokes aren't easy to punish on whiff, so it's okay if you miss. Make sure you know the distances of these two in order to capitalize on the distance. This is important because you don't want to use Adult Gohan's 5L as a poke from these further distances. Usually, 5L acts as a useful poke since it's your quickest button, allowing you to attack quickly. But his 5L comes out in 2 hits and doesn't reach as far. His first hit is a low that has bad reach, and his second hit isn't bad actually, but it only comes out after the first smaller hit, so it doesn't act as a quick poke. However, 2L on the other hand is also a great poke that has pretty good range in Zone 1 and is only 2 frames slower but 1 frame faster than 5M. So depending on the distance, 2L and 5M are your preferred quick pokes and 2M if they're on the ground. Leveled up, 3L also moves him forward and is similar to 5M. It can be a very good poke since it's so active, but try not to hold it to keep you vulnerable on whiff. A more advanced poke is using 3H when they're airborne in Zone 1. This is useful when they're above you via floats, dash jumps, after you chase them down, jump in pokes, etc. Now, why is this 3H good? In these passive situations where you don't know if they'll block or if you'll whiff, a 2H is much more limited since it brings you in the air. On block, you need to cancel out into legs, and you can't do anything on whiff. 3H, however, is plus or 0 if they block it in the air, giving you way more options. It can allow you to get in and win neutral if they aren't ready with a poke, or use 3L5M if you hit them from further away and they land. It also recovers more quickly on whiff since you remain grounded at 29 frames compared to 45 for the 2H. So you can cancel into other things more quickly if you do end up missing. However, this is where the technical part comes in. It can be hard to react and confirm a hit, a block, or if you whiff. It can also be hard to consistently press 3H when it's intended. Of course, keep using 2H for big callouts like when punishing Super Dash. In the air, JM is actually amazing due to its range and priority. It is great to pair with IIDs for pokes, IID back to retreat while buffering things such as moon jumps while staying safe, to meet them air to air, etc. Alongside your good movement, JM works amazing to punish them for commitments. On hits, confirm easily with JL J2H, and on block, staircase down with a conventional JM JL JH. His staircase situation is pretty nice since he can land 5L or use his overhead specials for another high. This high becomes even stronger if they haven't landed yet since they wouldn't be able to mash 2H to counter you. JL and JH are okay and have their uses, but JM is enough and should be your go-to button in the air. His legs provide him a lot of mobility. J236L preserves momentum and continues in the direction you are moving towards. J236M goes slightly forward, and you can hold forward to move more forward. J236H works like J236M. You can hold all of them to make the kicks last longer. As you level up, the distances you can move with these kicks increases. At level 1+, J236H actually travels full screen if held forward. Now, how do we use this to move around? J236L is amazing to pair with ID back to retreat, just like doing ID back JM, but it provides a much bigger and active hitbox to keep enemies away. This makes it even better than JM to catch stray approaches, super dash, etc. Which keeps you more safe as you tap with J236L. And it actually recovers pretty quickly where you're -1 when you land, so you're able to block after the kicks run out. Holding J236L will keep it active for longer, but you don't really want that sometimes. This is ideally how you want to retreat, and even poses as a threat on approaches if you have forward momentum to limit them from engaging in air-to-airs. Even if you jump straight up, it can give you a wall of protection, but it does have limitations. First of all, it's technical and can be hard on your fingers to input repetitively. Second of all, similar to IDJM, it leaves you vulnerable to getting hit by projectiles, so you need to be more aware of this. This is why you don't want to hold it for too long. If they rely on projectiles and don't approach you manually, you don't even need to bring this out to protect you and just bait their projectiles with your good movement. And thirdly, it's much harder to buffer things like moon jumps, since pressing and holding L will make the kicks continue for longer, whereas doing JM is just a single normal and you can hold the input in order to get a moon jump. J236M has a different use, it changes your momentum. Not holding forward pushes you slightly ahead, and holding forward will glide you for a while. This can be useful to aggressively transverse zones moving forward. When you're falling in the air and they're dashing into sniper landings, pull out a quick J236M to change your landing spot. And if you're backed in the corner, after either retreating or on uptech, tapping J236M can help switch positions to put them in the corner. Calling an assist after altering your landing spot can help start a turn or even get a hit. Just be careful of abusing this, since Super Dash does beat it. You can safely bait a response by moving forward into zone 1 and back, and then re-engage again with J236M to move back forward. Holding J236M6 can also solo confirm by landing 5L to punish them as well if you notice them with a 2H or something. This situation is hard to deal with since you can mix it up with other options, so they can't just 2H. Their safest option is to back away, which is fine. In the air, if you're too far to poke with JM and don't have forward momentum, J236M and holding 6 can be great to engage as well. If they block any of the kicks in the air above you, you're plus on block. Start a turn if you're close enough to land on the ground. If they get hit in the air, it can be hard to confirm though, but there are some ways around this. Avoid using kicks if they're too high out of reach, since this angle doesn't keep you safe from universal mechanics as well as most JS tools. And picking between the two and when to use them is where the skill aspect comes in, but you'll develop this with experience over time. J236H isn't as useful as the other two since it is a bigger commitment and you can't stop it short. And just like 236M, it's an aggressive way to transfer zones. But unlike the other kicks, it does have recovery on landing, so they can punish this more easily. However, it is plus on block if they block it on the ground and in the air, and is way easier to combo on hit. This can be useful when they're close to you and retreating as you attack because it covers distance very quickly. They may not be ready to counter. It's useful to get a full combo to punish their full screen options if you're early, and it's useful when fishing for raw attacks when they want to preserve their blue life. You can super jump into delayed J236H holding 4, and this can bait them to tag since they think you're up in the air instead of being able to 2H on the ground. Don't use this when they're relaxing in zone 3 since you'll get punished with a 2H. Be careful if they're moving forward in zone 2 and 1 because there's a space underneath you that leaves you vulnerable, and if they have an advantage above you vertically since you don't have protection in the vertical direction. But it is quicker and stronger with paired with other tools like his 2S. And if you're high enough, you can string multiple legs together or different ones after another. This can help you extend your baits, change directions after going backwards or forwards, and a lot more. There's a lot of room for creativity. However, this is less practical and even harder to execute efficiently. By knowing when and how to use these different kicks and having the proper execution for it, you'll be able to drastically increase adult Gohan's mobility. Adult Gohan has 4 projectiles, 5S, 2S, JS, and 236S beam. Let's go over 5S. 5S doesn't hit full screen, but is a single hitting blast that trades with Ki Blast property moves and beats Super Dash like a beam. It also whiffs on crouchers at the medium range. People think this is bad, but it has a lot of uses. It has deceptively good vertical range. Pressing 5S works well to catch opponents from far when they're about to land from being airborne. Make sure this hits full screen by dashing right before you use 5S. It's excellent to use if they used their air action and are close to the ground. On hit, vanish the combo. On block, in the air you're plus and have a slight advantage allowing you to approach safely for a bit. You can escape this of course, but you'd be able to close the distance a bit. On the ground, it locks them down for a bit so you can call a long range assist in order to pursue afterwards. Other characters can't use their Ki Blast option in this same way to catch landings because the opponent also has the option to Super Dash before landing. But Adult Gohan's 5S beats Super Dash so he doesn't have to worry about this option. It can be great to prevent them from approaching and from setting up, but be careful of forward jumps since 5S is negative on whiff and can be punished similar to a beam. This isn't a big issue if they're in zone 3 since it's quite hard to punish from this range since there's not a big indicator for 5S, but you can always vanish if you're scared you pressed it at the wrong time, although this is risky. 5S's trade potential can be great to beat specific things such as slow single hitting blast such as Piccolo's orbs, ID back JS specials, etc. When they call an assist while being in the air, you can 5S to hit the assist out on reaction and nullify it, call your own to put them at a disadvantage. When using it to counter assist, be careful because you are putting yourself vulnerable to their front character charging in and punishing you, but a well-timed 5S is always very useful. 2S and JS fire a regular Ki Blast at a downward angle. 2S barely reaches full screen, but has a low recovery. This makes it very strong to quickly back away if you find yourself accidentally in zone 1. It's faster than trying to ID back if the enemy is face to face, and not only do you escape, but if they throw a poke out at this close range, the Ki Blast will hit them and counter them for it. It's also an easier input. It's impossible to punish on reaction to 2S. It's also a great response to opponents rushing forward with dashes or against command grabs. But it's not as good in the corner since there's nowhere to jump back to. If your opponent just advances into Super Dash, which accidentally hits you out of 2S, then you don't even need to use 2S at this level against these types of opponents. You just need to stick to basic movements and IIDs to punish their reckless behavior. Near the corner, J236M holding forward and J236H holding forward is effective to go back towards them after getting pushed back from the 2S. This makes for some interesting baits and hard to escape situations where they'd have to travel through your kick to escape the corner. 2S plus assist also gives you a similar outcome in the corner when you're close by, but pairing assist with 5S is more effective since you're already grounded after firing the 5S. JS hits at a great angle in the air and also holds you up longer, but has a lot more recovery. It's great to punish commitments such as beam that try to hit your landing, or even Ki Blast if they mistime them but it actually hits from zone 3. However, the recovery makes it so that they can theoretically Super Dash on reaction to punish you every time from zone 3. But you can use this as bait After firing JS, you can get into J236 kicks series. If you know they're looking out for your JS after firing a few, commit to JS a J236H to beat their super dash. Hold 4 so that you don't approach them in case they don't super dash though, to avoid getting punished. Another trick is to alternate between JS at low heights and 2S. It can be hard to differentiate between the two, and if they try to punish the 2S thinking it's JS, that's an easy bait and punish. When they're closer, JS can be an effective way to avoid landing at the last second, even in the corner to hold you up in the air. Adding an assist here can turn the situation around if they commit to catching your landing. But if they're too close to you, you need to recognize when the situation is lost and block instead of whiffing a JS and having even more recovery to get punished on it. Something more advanced is learning how to pair your JS with your air kicks besides just the bait. Remember, J236M holding forward and then forward jumping J236L brings you forward. JS brings you backwards, and can be used before or after these kicks. You can do a ton of things with these in combination to your air dash. You can jump forward a J236M6 to bait a 2H or retreat, into JS to whiff punish them or create more distance. You can jump J236M6 dash forward into JS going back. You can dash back a JS to make them think you're committed to retreating into J236M6 to go back forward, and more. All of these different timings and patterns are useful to bait and halt landings, to punish their reactions, to induce hesitation in enemies, and to navigate across assist, neutral options, and more. 236S is your conventional beam, and there's not much to say about it. Beams aren't that good in general, since they're super high commitment and easy to punish with a jump super dash or other character specific options. But in adult Gohan's case, opponents may think they can outzone you without trying by using a simple ki blast more often, but a well-timed 236S can out-neutral them. After level 1, 214 becomes an overhead teleport that tracks wherever you are on the screen. It has the added benefit of hitting cross-up if you use M or H versions. Using it recklessly is dumb since it can be easily avoided by just moving around, and can be 2H if they catch onto you being reckless, which is why it's not as good as a normal lariat. Its most common use is to punish committal options like beams since they can't cancel out of it, and unlike his projectiles, you can hold a special tag after J236H to combo instead of having to spend a whole bar. And we've spoken about ways to delay your landings and avoid them from hitting you, but using J214 is an aggressive way to change your landing site and counter their 2L2M that's trying to catch you. So you could bait them to pursue you by using moon jump floats, lure them into the corner thinking they've trapped you, and boom, you side switch and they have to hold your level 3 mix. And calling neutral assist plus this lariat can be an effective way to get in even if you whiff, but wasting an assist like this by just guessing isn't as effective as actually understanding your position and advantages. As you've learned from my channel, being grounded is much more valuable than being in the air. Although adult Gohan has a lot of air mobility, unlike other characters, you still want to remain grounded so you have the option to 2H, reflect, DP, etc. This is where fast fall comes in. J2S can bring you down to the ground right away from anywhere in the air. It doesn't have too much recovery when you land as well. When paired with IADs, you can cancel the air dash with a J2S for very quick bursts of movement that bring you to the ground quickly. You still get the spacing from going back or trying to go forward, but cut it short. IAD back has much less recovery than J2S though, but J2S also acts as bait, since the opponent may want to do something to punish the small window. This requires a lot of technical capacity to pull off though. When you're first learning how to pair IADs with fast fall, include pauses and breaks between them to give you time to read and react to the situation. Adult Gohan can be very elusive if you incorporate his other tools alongside his fast fall. Once you become very competent, you'll be able to repeat calculated IAD fast falls just like Wawa, all while being able to block and maintain the advantage. Adding dash jump fast falls is a great way to kill your momentum, allowing you to engage or back way more safely. Adding an assist acts as another layer. And you can fast fall at different points of your jump to maximize different types of assist and engage in different baits. Another use for fast falls is if they're trying to air you. Sometimes if they're too quick in approaching you, you won't be able to use his kicks, but J2S is a simple input that avoids the situation altogether. Use this if you're in a super jump state and they're in zone 3 advancing to zone 2. These situations are likely when opponents dash super jump to staircase you down. So fast falling will avoid this interaction altogether and bring you back in a favorable position very quickly. When you don't want to fast fall is when they're in zone 2 and advancing. In this situation, they're less likely to jump in the air to pursue and will prefer to stay grounded to catch your landing since they're close by. So fast falling will just put you into their normal. You don't want that. Fast falls are useful after getting your super dash block to avoid things like Vegito and Z Broly grabs. And after fast fall, you can hold the S input so that you can get easy access to super jump property by doing normal jumps to help your mobility. Thank you all for watching. I was supposed to upload this video a few weeks ago, but life got a bit busy. It took longer than I expected, and I'll be releasing a shorter video on his neutral when he's leveled up further. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and let me know what you think of the guide with a comment down below, and I'll see y'all next time.